So I don't know about y'all, but I woke up this morning to a story that people just could not stop talking about. The whole Will Smith and Chris Rock thing at the Oscars the other day. That whole situation of waking up and seeing on Facebook that was all people could talk about, or my coworkers brought it up. People who don't even have cell phones to watch on, social media, the outpour of attention that these celebrities are getting. They just go by watching TV and then going, at work or the supermarket and hearing about it. I just think it's so interesting how media can twist the narrative of anyone's story. Got me thinking about a book that I recently just finished, The Silence by DeLillo. Do not be like me, because for some odd reason I picked up this book when I was supposed to read White Noise first, and I was told that if I was gonna jump into DeLillo's works, because apparently he's been writing since the 80s or 70s or something like that. I was told that if I was going to read one of his works, to read White Noise, and instead saw this book at the bookstore and thought, this sounds great. The Silence follows 5 characters. 2 of them are on a plane on the way to visit the other 3 who were watching the Super Bowl. The story takes place in 2022, so now I think it was written, when was this book written? Written a couple of years ago, like 2 years ago. The story follows 5 people, 2 people on a plane to visit the other 3 people. I think they were flying from Paris or something like that. So it's an international flight. They're flying from Paris. They're coming to meet their dear friends, and all of a sudden, all of technology itself just collapses. It leaves these 5 characters scrambling for thought, for process of what's going on. And I think the most interesting part about seeing these 5 characters react to this situation is how similar they are, yet non-relatable. The Silence is eerie and creepy in all the best ways. And what I mean by that is it's a psychological, apocalyptic hypothetical, if you will, where the world's technology ceases to exist and just cuts off everybody. Nothing that you watching this video right now on your phone, on your laptop, it just goes blank. And what are you to do? 2 of the main characters are on a plane, and the other 3 characters are watching the Super Bowl, and all of a sudden power goes out and the plane crashes. We're left very vague information about as to how exactly the plane crashes. Did it just plummet out of the sky? Did it lose its landing gear? It leaves an open interpretation of how far you could take this idea, and it keeps you thinking, that's wild, what would have happened. I was questioning lots of things in this story. Martin mentions Einstein's theory of relativity and how different things within what's going on could possibly be occurring around the world. They mentioned for a second what's going on with my identity, or what's going on online, who's doing this basically is what they're thinking, obviously, but in a more deep level process. The characters on the plane are very interesting as well, because Jim has this automatic, Jim and Tessa, they have this automatic communication that's not normal. Nothing about the way that these characters speak to each other is normal. And I think that only adds to the vague interpretation of how you can take this story. For a person to lose their phone in our day and age, for a person to just have a dead phone during a work shift, or a laptop die, you jokingly say it's cataclysmic to go a day without having your phone. It's creepy, but it's kind of funny, because you see these normal people speak in a way that people don't speak to each other, just doing things like watching a football game or taking a normal plane ride to go visit friends. And they react in such an odd way. Like, two of the characters basically go off and each other, you know, thinking it's, I guess, the end of the world. And then one character has a bet on the game, and when the TV goes dead, everyone's having this whole conversation with themselves about what's going on in the world, and the only thing he can think about is what the happening to my bet right now, because he's got a bet on the game. You know, I feel like I've been told that Don DeLillo's stories are all vague and eerie and strange, and that none of them make sense. But I think that adds to like a very specific style of writing that people can enjoy. You know, if you can read a story and escape, well, there are stories that help you, like this story, I would assume, that help you build your imagination around an idea. And I will say this, I brought this book with me. I brought this book with me on a plane ride, actually, for some odd reason. A couple weeks ago, I visited a friend in North Carolina. Shout out to Anissa in North Carolina. And I told myself I was going to read this book on the plane, and I got up there and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. The characters in the beginning of the story had this whole like back and forth conversation that's like an automatic processing, and it's like 3 hours and 44 minutes to landing. And they're like doing Jim does the math. Jim does the math in his head, and he basically assumes that the plane lost like 2 minutes of travel because of the way that he knows the speed and the altitude and all that stuff that the pilot saying over the intercom. I think I had to put this book down before the plane even took off, really, with the way that the story was going. It's a quick read. It's about 120 something pages, and I don't know, I just feel like if you're gonna read anything by Don, look, I was told to read White Noise, and I got this book instead, and I was thoroughly satisfied. I'm not sure exactly what White Noise is about, because I literally went up to the bookstore and I found this book and I thought, okay, and picked it up. But anyway, yeah, if you like this book, definitely comment below what you thought about it. Let's talk more about it. And for those of you planning on reading the book and don't want to be spoiled, click away right now. Thanks for watching. But y'all, did I read it right? Did Diane her student?